Hello, and welcome to episode 9 of the Fear and Terror podcast. Today, we are doing a squad themed episode, and I am joined by Chicken,
Hey guys, what's up?
Epic Sax Guy,
Hi, how are you?
Jhett,
John.
Muderfist69,
I wanna fucking die.
and UAV Guy.
Hello.
So, in this podcast, we're going to be discussing a lot of stuff to do with our main game, our first main game, Squad. We're going to start off talking to UAV Guy, who is the new squad director. We're going to talk to him about uh, what he expected out of it and what he has gotten out of being the director. Then we're going to move on to talking about the squad competitive team, which everybody here is on and are either squad leaders or high up people in helping with the comp team. And then we're going to end with getting a little sneak peek of a mod that Jhett has been working on. So, UAV Guy,
Yes,
you've been director for what, like a month now?
2 months, I
2
believe.
months? It's been 2 months?
Yeah.
All right. So, when you became the director, how did you get approached and what was your response to that?
Well, basically, I needed to talk to Quavo when I was still a manager, and I couldn't get in contact with him because he had some personal issues going on. And I asked Jimmy instead, and he said Quavo would contact me about something, which didn't happen. And then Jimmy offered me the director's position and they thought that would be a great fit, and I agreed to take it because I felt like I could do some good stuff with the division.
All right. So, it was Jimmy that ended up offering you the
Yeah,
position.
Jimmy. Yeah.
Okay. So, going into it, what was different, or going into it, what did you expect that ended up being completely different than how the position ended up? Like, was there anything that you thought was going to go one way, but it just completely was 180 the other way?
Well, I thought OWI would be better at communicating to the players, but that turned out to be very much wrong. But they have a lot of communities, so I don't blame them totally. But there's just a lot of stuff that I expected to do a lot less of, but have to deal with a lot more, like player reports, admins not doing their job or doing their job poorly, and then I have to step in.
All right. Oh, sorry.
I'm less busy with the teams that I thought I would be busy with.
So was there anything, because the old director Quavo, he had some IRL stuff come up, so that's why he ended up stepping away and from the community really, and just hasn't been active. But in his absence, was there anything that just completely went to shambles that you just completely had to restructure or fix?
Well, we didn't have any like centralized leadership. That was all like the managers had basically the reins, but no one knew what we wanted, and we couldn't make big decisions. Activity was down the drain, which was my first point. Jimmy talked to me about, like, you need to get activity back up, which is why I try to push that to join people to join the channels. But that's the main thing that suffered under Quavo, because there was very little change, so the game got stale for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
stuff that just popping team declined. The events team just had a bunch of issues. Recruiting was down. Like, most teams just had issues which needed director intervention.
okay. So that went into us actually closing one of our servers down and going to 3 public squad servers. Then I'm assuming it's because of the intervention that was needed. especially with the
Yep.
popping team.
Yeah, definitely. We had 4 servers, but most days we only got 2, maybe 3 popped, and then it was a toss up between 2 and 3 who would get popped. And we were discussing it during our manager meeting, and the consensus basically was, why are we paying for a server box that we rather not use? We just could save money on. So
Okay.
we just save
Especially,
it.
sorry.
We're saving just $100 on letting the LA box go. I rather wouldn't have done it, but in the end,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was necessary.
Yeah, especially with the whole COVID happening and our revenue as a clan dropping, it just made sense. If we were going to get rid of a box, get rid of the one that get rid of a box so that we could just run it on 2 boxes and
Oh,
save that
definitely.
money, because our donations definitely took a hit because of COVID happening and the whole economy basically shutting down.
Yeah. Well, that's we're very fortunate to have not been in positions where we actually had to force close our servers because of monetary issues. But the dropping that $100 a month also frees up some space for more giveaways for the squad community. Because at the moment we have the most expenditure because of our server boxes. Which, fair enough, Postscriptum also uses them, but Squad uses them the most.
Mhm.
So I don't want to overpush them with giveaways, but keep an eye out because I'm planning a couple,
Ooh.
maybe in the future. I haven't approved anything yet, but thinking of them.
All right. So, any of the rest of you, have you noticed anything that has changed significantly from where Squad was before to where it is now under UAV's leadership?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like the biggest thing was before it was no fault of Quavo, but just his absence was like you could really kind of feel the hit. Like there'd be kind of arguments breaking out of like server rules and what the standards were that weren't set, right? Um, so UAV was kind of able to come in and just set in stone the new standards for admins and server rules and things like that, which kind of just got everything rolling, which was nice. You could definitely feel a pretty big difference immediately with it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed that too, especially with the server rules. The biggest one that I can think of immediately comes to the top of my head is vehicle claiming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was an issue almost every game that there were Vics on the map. It would always just be a constant fight of, oh, this is my Vic, these are the rules, yada yada yada. And I do remember vividly that pretty much just came to a stop when UAV became the director, because he's like, this is the rule, and this is how it's going to be followed.
There's just no figurehead to answer to, right? Like with Quavo gone, like it would kind of be a gray area where one server admin would think one thing and another one would think another. I mean, you just had like very like inconsistent moderation because of that. Like not necessarily like server bans or anything like that, but just very consistent like use of like the rules. And I think just really having someone to kind of answer to with those questions, right? What is the standard for this? Because just over time it kind of slipped away, right? So I think that definitely helps standardize, like you said, the vehicle claiming rule. It still may not be perfect. I don't know if there is a perfect solution, but it's better than where it was at before, right? So that's a step in the right direction, and we keep taking those steps in the right direction.
Yep, definitely. Any of the rest of you notice anything different from Quavo to UAV?
Dude, server activity is like off the charts in Discord. Like, I remember before UAV came in, there was maybe, I don't know, 10 people in the Discord channels, and now like every night there's at least 15 and sometimes even more, which is really cool to see. It kind of it pulls the clan together when we're all kind of we're playing together and we're talking and stuff like that, and that's really cool to see too.
Yeah, just sitting around bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of server activity. It also could have been that it was spread out before between 4 different servers, and now it's just condensed to 3. Could slightly be
True.
inflating it, but it's definitely more active than it was before as a game.
Right. Yeah.
So UAV, another question for you. Now that you are the director, you are also one of the head managers of the comp team, and you do a lot of the scheduling and babysitting, basically, is I guess the best word for it, of
That is the word for it. Yeah.
the comp team. So, how hard is it to juggle between the two, being the squad director and then one of the managers of the comp team?
It's not really that difficult, to be honest, because squad director, like when I'm online, I'm squad director. But if I have to act in the comp, like the comp mother, basically, comp mom, as I've been called how many times at this point?
You're welcome.
That's it's just for me. It's easy to just go to someone. Hey, you're gonna be able to practice today, and people most likely answer me, and like that's easier. It helps that I've got the red name. To be honest, it helps me more than it hinders, because people like, oh shit, the director mid PM me. Maybe
The
it's
big red
important.
bastard.
No, it's I don't like to use my directorship as anything but as a tool to get stuff done. Especially
No,
in comp, where like most of the decisions up to Murder, since he is still the manager. And technically I am his superior in that regard, if I can say that myself, even though I hate it. He runs the team, and I basically let him do whatever he wants with the team, as long as it doesn't become a toxic team, which is one of the goals he sets himself. So,
well, there's also the reason I called you a red bastard is because Jimmy likes to joke that he's the big purple bastard. So that's why I pulled the joke of you're the big red bastard.
Okay. Better be red than that.
Oh jeez.
Pardon if you hear thunder in the background. I just had a couple massive cracks of thunder. It's about to start storming here, so sorry if you start hearing that in the background.
Hope your telephone pole doesn't go through. Go over.
Fuck.
Lose your internet.
Bro,
So
that would suck.
Hopefully nature wants this podcast to happen. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, that'll be fate for if it was meant to be.
The 5 of us just sitting in here, dead silent for the rest of the podcast.
Just like, oh, where'd he go? Is he gonna keep asking questions? So, guess that's a good segue into talking about the comp team. So, now, Murder, I have a couple questions for you, because I do want to talk about the whole history of the comp team as a whole, from when you took it over from F-Monk up until now. Not super in depth. I want to focus on that, but I also want to focus on just the past couple months, since we had a bunch of people leave the comp team and we've been rebuilding. So, when you first started the comp team after F-Monk left, what were your goals? Just your basic goals, and what did you want for the team?
Basic goals for the team when it first started. I mean, the goals really haven't changed at all, to be honest. They're still relatively the same, and I wanted the Fear and Terror community to set an example for the squad community by being a non-toxic team. That was pretty much the only goal I really had. It wasn't about winning or anything about that. It was just about setting an example for the entire squad community, right? That you can have competitive gameplay and not have a toxic team about it. And the thing is, for me, is, when I played squad, and I've been playing it for a long time, is, every server you went, no matter what, there was always toxicity. I'm not very sure about the EU scene at that time, but I mean, it was just everywhere. You know, why can't we have good sportsmanship? You know, don't know why, but yeah, I just really wanted to set a good example because it was everywhere and still is, I guess, a really toxic scene in a lot of the esports. But that was pretty much the main goal for the community. Well, for our community, which was making a non-toxic comp team, right? I still like when we go into a Discord and say GG, people were shocked, to be honest, when that happened. They're like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it really did get a lot of respect from a lot of the other teams, right? Was wow, I guess these guys are all right.
Yeah. Even if we did occasionally get curb stomped, at least we were good sports about it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So I know you said that that's really the main goal that you've had for pretty much the whole time, but uh, has there been any other sub goals that have like sprung up that you didn't really think, or any surprises that you've had about the team? Like you didn't think it would ever get to a certain size or whatnot. Has the activity in the team ever been a surprise to you with how it's gone?
Well, for me, it's more about I don't like to keep the team on a pedestal. That's pretty much it. Where I have my own expectations and my own goals for the team, right? But I try not to put it on, put everybody on the team on a pedestal, right? Because what my goals are completely unrealistic, right? I want to have the best team in the world, and I want to win all these tournaments and all that. Don't get me wrong, I like to win just as much as everybody else, right? But I can't force that ideology onto people, right? It doesn't really work out that well, right? People come, people go. It's
Hmm.
pretty much it.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I can say because I've been on the team basically since the very beginning as well. Um, well, I used to, I really used to suck ass. Now I only kind of suck. But as has teaching people how to play the game and teaching them like this is how you're supposed to do this and do it correctly, is that like a satisfying thing? Do you get like some sort of gratification out of that?
It depends, I get a lot of respect from the people that do eventually get better at the game. They go, thank you, Murder, for all the practices and training and all that. You know, it, but it's more frustrating than anything. A lot of the stuff that's really obvious and teaching, right? It's
Yeah.
just me screaming the same thing over and over again. And yeah,
Okay. Um. So Sax, you've
Yeah.
also been here since basically the very beginning, and you're also one of the squad leads, the dedicated squad leads of the team. So, is there anything that you want to just throw in? Any random bits of what you've seen that you just want to throw in about the comp team? Um, maybe about the way it's been run in the past, or just anything that you want to throw in.
I'd say overall the team has had its ups and downs, but as long as we've maintained a pretty solid core group, as long as those guys stay, we'll always have a team.
All right. Um, Jhett, is there anything that you want to just throw into about the team at first? Because I am going to be asking you guys more in-depth questions in a bit. I just want to do a general overview of it first.
I think that the biggest thing is recently that with all the people leaving, right? I think that definitely shook us up pretty hard because we were used to having, 50 signups and having a ton of spare subs ready for a scrim, right? And then we went back to pulling the straight numbers we needed. So that was kind of a bit of a shake up for everyone. But I think we're all kind of worried that we had people just dropping here and there. But I think people also just got bored or they just didn't feel like it was the right thing for them. Um, and we basically found new people that can, pull their weight, that want to win, and they want to get better, right? Those are the people that I want to stick around, and I think will stick around, is the people that want to get better, improve their game, and win.
No, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, it's like you said, we've had a core group that has stayed, and for the first year and a half that we had the team, it was a lot of the people. It was the same core group. I remember it was like about 20 guys that we'd have, maybe 25 that stayed, and then the other ones were just continuously cycling through, and we could just never get that team cohesion, I feel. And we did lose a good chunk of those core guys, but we're not going to get into why. There is a reason, but we're not going to get into that here, but I believe it was probably for the better of the team that we ended up dropping them.
I mean, you saw the results, right? You saw the results of people who wanted to win, who wanted to get better, who were all pretty bad. I'm sorry to say it. Who were not very good at the game, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
They just were not. I wasn't good when I joined. I was terrible when I joined.
Oh, so was I. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Grind, right? They have that same grind to get better, to practice, right? Put the time in, and they want to succeed. And those are the people that you see, now who are, stepping up and playing like actual competitive players, right? They're pulling their weight, and they're challenging the enemy.
Yep. And one of the newer guys, he's not brand new to the team, but he's newer than the rest of us, is Chicken here.
He's just a baby.
Yeah. But Chicken is probably the best example of a new guy coming in and wanting to learn stuff and wanting to win and learn and how to get better at the game. And he's worked himself up to being a squad lead. So, Chicken, how when you first came into the team, what was your goal when you first came in?
Yeah, well, I had played like on a very small comp team before, and so I was like, I kind of had an idea of how comp flowed, but not at any high level. And so I was like, you know what, I'll come in and just see how I do. Have some fun with a little bit of competitive people. People who want to play, people who want to win, and that's how it all started. That's the reason I tried out in the first place. But then it was perfect timing because COVID came along, and so I had all this free time, and I was like, you know what, I could actually maybe get good. And from there, it was just really, I don't know if I had any like grandiose like, oh, I want to be the best player on the team, but I wanted to actually be like recognized as somebody who could pull their weight and contribute to the team. And that's really where it started. And my goal right away was to just if doesn't matter how somebody says it, but if they're right, then I'm going to learn from it. And that was really helpful because coming in, you kind of receive a lot of hard feedback about you realize how quickly you're a terrible player. And before coming in, I was like, I could probably do decent. And I came in and I was just getting absolutely destroyed in everything. I was like, okay, I'm not that good.
To be honest, it's literally a rite of passage. Your first practice, your first PvP practice,
you just get shit on.
Yeah, you will go 3-15. There's no other option.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just shooting; it's the pace. You have to be faster. You have to think faster. You have to move faster, but you have to aim faster.
That's what keeps us old farts going, man. It's just completely destroying the new guys.
Yeah. So coming into the comp team, I was really just getting screwed over, and but that kind of hit home to me that I could actually learn something here. And so from there on, I was like, okay, well, if one of these guys tells me how to do something, then I'm gonna apply it. No matter what it is, and that really made a huge difference for me. I just wanted to come in and learn, and it's definitely paying off.
Oh yeah, I can tell. I don't remember who it was that said it, but somebody said that you were just like a sponge. Everything anybody told you, you just absorbed it and used it.
Yeah.
I told Murder week 1, man. I told him week 1. I was like, Chicken's gonna be good.
Yeah, I wish
in like
everybody,
a month, like 2
honestly,
months.
I wish everybody had your drive and commitment to learning all of the, even just the basic stuff. Because that it would just make everybody's job so much easier.
Yeah.
In 2 months, he did more. He's gone better than me, who's been on this team for what 7 months now.
Yeah, you've been here
You've
for
been
a
on
while
for
too.
Joined in October, so.
But
It's just it's just hard work, man. It's just dedication and like I said, taking everything. And I've still got a long ways to go, by all means.
Yes,
yeah,
you do.
all of us do.
Yeah.
We all have room for improvement.
Absolutely.
But so another point I wanted to, or actually, UAV, I haven't asked you about your experience with comp yet, other than being the comp mom. So with the actual gameplay aspect of it, sir, anything else that you want to throw in with trainings or whatever, or the people on the team that doesn't have to do with being the comp mom?
Well, what I see in trainings is it's just that what I do in trainings is just listen, and I rarely learn from like words only. I need to see it or experience it myself, which is why I've tried to attend as many practices as I can, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, with you,
Time
because
zones,
you're
right?
you're out of the EU, so
like
we
that's to be honest, when I joined this com team, I had no intention of taking it as seriously as I did in the end. Because when I joined, I saw those training times, and I was like, oh fuck, that's late. That's 3 a.m.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I can maybe do that once every 2 weeks. Then I can fit it in and maybe play in a game. But then I played my very first scrim, and I was sold. I
You were
was
hooked.
sold.
Yep.
And I made those trainings worth it. Then the next week came, I'm like, I promised myself I wouldn't do it, but I'll do it this week as well. And then I just kept getting more hooked, and I wanted to do more for the team. And I'm confident in saying if I didn't join this team, I wouldn't be playing squad today. Because I barely. This is not this weekend. We're coming from the squad director, but I have a hard time finding enjoyment in public games. It's because maybe it's because I killed my enjoyment because of seeding, or because I became too good and started to notice issues. But I'm not, because I still suck. It's just, I don't know. It's frustrating, and when I get frustrated, I need to quit, because otherwise.
The more frustrated you get, the worse you start playing, and it's just a vicious loop.
And it's not even when I do bad. Like today, I went 13-3 during middle of the game. I just went frustrating because my team wasn't doing anything.
Yep.
And I just
We've all been there.
Okay, left my squad, checked my score, and went quit.
I think that's why a lot of us joined comp in the first place. But UAV is the pristine example of it. I hate puppies.
Yeah.
I don't hate puppies. It's just like I adore them because they do what their own. They still have fun.
They do what they want.
Puppies have good spirit, man. You just tell them, like, yeah, just sit here and start shooting at the bushes, and they'll do it. I love it. They love every second of it. It's great.
They don't question everything,
Yeah,
and that's the best thing.
I totally-
I can tell if I'm gunning something or driving something, and I'm driving. They don't question why I'm turning around in a Vic. They don't why you go. Oh, we're going back to main. We got hit. Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
I don't-
just let me shoot the big gun.
Yeah, that's it's a skill that I picked up during seeding. Is entertaining puppies. I'm not
Herding the
joking.
puppies.
No, I believe I've told this story a couple times, but during seeding, if I'm alone and then some random puppy joins and I felt all the have set up and everything, I look how good he is if I'm active, and if he's like decent, but I could just hat tap him every single time because his positioning is shit. I will miss my first shot on purpose, just to give him a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a good guy, man.
But then
I
again,
wouldn't be so merciful, that's for sure.
I know.
Yeah,
And that's why I get server seated and you
punish him.
don't.
Oh, I like to
No.
sleep then.
Seeding is it's an exhausting job, and you need to take breaks.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm known to be shit at taking breaks, so
Yeah.
For sure.
So, anyways, back to the comp team. We got a bit off topic there with talking about puppies, but that's fine. Back to another question about comp, and that has to do somewhat. I'm not gonna name any names, but with our haters within FaT. I know we've all experienced them, and I just kind of want to know how you guys all deal with them and handle the situation whenever it arises. So we can start with Chicken, just the top of the
Dude.
list.
Actions always speak louder than words, man. There's a fine line between responding to haters, but most of the time, I just let it, just roll with it. It's the same idea behind not making a toxic comp team.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point in saying, well, I'm a comp player 1v1. Like, it's just stupid, and it shows your ego. And so, me personally, I just let it go. I'm like, all right, whatever. You can think what you think, and that's fine. And 9 times out of 10, nothing happens, and everybody else, everybody moves on with their lives, and we're fine.
All right, yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the mentality of a lot of the team. How about you,
Mhm.
Sax?
I'm the same with Chicken. I just ignore it, turn the other way, and keep doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
Yep.
Murder.
What was the question?
With our haters within FaT, what is your how do you handle the situation normally? Not naming any names.
What do you mean
Shut
by
up, kid.
haters?
I'll roll you to me.
Like the people that are always like, ew, it's the comp team, or like just basically hate on the comp team for being the comp team. I mean,
I don't really get any direct responses from them in the voice channels, no. But I mean, it's always rumored about. But it's whatever. To be honest,
mhm.
I just keep my head down and just. I mean, like, what upsets me more than anything is that like, I don't get fucking paid to do this shit. I'm a volunteer. Like, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart, and and then like there's gossip and drama. And it's like, to me it's so childish. You know what I mean? Like, I did this so just to piss you off, just directly you. I did it just to spite you. Like, no, like, I don't care. Like, why are you making this a big deal? I have no idea, right? Like I said, like, non-toxic comp team. I'm just here doing my fucking thing, right? And I don't know why. It just attracts drama sometimes. It
Mhm.
is what it is.
Well,
That's
the whole squad community attracts drama.
Yeah, I don't know
But
why.
that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, but that's the philosophy behind the whole team, and that's what's cool. Murder being the leader, that carries down to the rest of us. We have some outliers in our team, and that's okay. But
We normally
the
get rid of
majority
them.
of people are like that. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like I have to do a ton of babysitting to be honest with these guys. It's ridiculous. Like like what are you doing? Like you can't do that. Don't do that. Like you know what I mean? Because what a lot of people don't understand is like we had an issue with a couple of guys that would just take off their tags. Well, I mean they're no longer in FaT, but they used to take off their tags and see how far they could get away with stuff on other servers. You know, and I was telling them like you represent this comp team and you represent fear and terror. You get caught, I'll personally ban you. It was like why are you doing this? Well, because we're bored. I'm like, oh, okay. You have access to the internet. Fix it.
It's impossible to get bored on the internet. You can always find
What
something.
what makes me more upset at like how selfish it is. Like how the entire squad community is run is just through volunteer work. Everything, every Discord, every fucking server that you see in squad is all voluntary, right? People donate, they have a server, right? And people get off work, they admin, right? And they literally are the foundation to the whole squad community, right? They really are. They don't get any credit, they don't get any thank yous. I know. Let me take my tags off and ruin some fucking poor guy's day. Like, you know what I mean? Like it to me, like I said, it's just really selfish, right? Like I hate it when we get like appeals or bans, and it's just like, dude, you're in our server. If you don't like it, go pay for your own server and host your own server, and you can do that. It's a free country, right? I mean, you're playing on a server for free. You know what I mean? The admins are doing it for free, right? Like I don't know what else to say. Like it's the amount of lack of gratitude. It's just I don't know, not really, not much sympathy for people that have a sense of entitlement when they play this game. You know, I mean, I've been doing it for so long, and like I understand the whole backbone of how it all works. From Bellas to us. You know what I mean? Like every server out there, right? It is a handful of people running that server. To be honest, same thing with here, right? You can ask UAV.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you get people that appreciate what you're doing, and they really, and the majority in fact are this way. But you sometimes have those bad apples that just don't realize the amount of time and effort we put in trying to make sure that everything is running a-okay. Because even now I'm busy trying to figure out why our servers are crashing as I'm recording a podcast.
But you have that sense of entitlement, right? And then they feel like they have some reason to be on this team, and at the end of the day, it's my decision, right? Hey, sorry, you fucking suck. Sorry, but and then they hold this grudge, right? And you know, maybe get better, maybe practice, right? Maybe you get on this team, right? Now, what do? They just fucking complain and do nothing, right? Take some action, right? But
Yep.
that's usually the issue.
A lot of the reason I wanted to add this section was to if any of them were listening, any of the people that constantly nagged the team, to show them like, hey, we're not bad people. We don't deserve this, because I have personally seen it. If I mention comp, people will nag me about it, and it yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, it's all volunteer work, and it's my decision if I want to be on the team or not, or if I want to continue to be on the team once I'm allowed on. And so I feel like a lot of us don't appreciate being nagged about it, but then on the other hand, we just ignore it a lot of the time. So
I mean, if you want to be an internet warrior and just waste your whole afternoon telling me how much the team sucks or this or that, go for it. Go ahead. I will be happy to see you waste your entire night telling me that the team is like, oh, it's comp. Like, yes, I'm having fun. I'm playing with guys that I practice with, that I have cohesion with, and I get way better gameplay than I get from a pub game. Way better. So, laugh it up. Go for it. Waste your time because I'm having a blast, and if you don't like it, that's too bad. You're not gonna stop me by complaining about it.
I think one of the issues that that like a lot of competitive teams I see with is just like, end of the day you're supposed to have fun. If you're not having fun, what's going on here, and that's the thing is like, you gotta make it fun. You gotta make it interesting. And if you're not having fun, you gotta really consider it, right? That's the most important thing from practices to whatever, right? Try to make it fun, but
Right.
once you get that competitive side going, right, it's different, and people expect this high circumstance for the competitive team, right? Sorry, this is the practice. Well, you got to know how to do this, or else we'll lose, right?
Well,
And it was the biggest complaint that I would always get. Your practices aren't fun. Well, sorry. Well, spread the fuck out. Whatever it is we're learning that day, right? It was always the complaint. We didn't learn anything today. Well, everybody else learned something. Maybe it's just you. No. I'm entitled and I know everything. Like,
It's some practices aren't as valuable to like. Some practices are dedicated to ourselves, trying to understand. Oh, I can't like this is how I push with my squad into a point, and then I am the driver of a Vic, staring at a wall for 40 minutes.
Here's the thing: a rifleman should know what a Vic driver is doing.
Yeah.
A Vic driver should know what a rifleman's doing. If UAV gets out to repair and dies, and I need you to get in and run crewman for 20 minutes, and that's the way it is, right? You have to be ready to take on anything in the game. Squad it's not like super customizable and a bunch of different roles, but the roles are very team oriented, right? Like AT, you can't miss a lat shot. You just can't. You have to be able to guess the distance, shoot it, and hit the target, right? It's just you can't simply just say, oh, I don't want to play lat, and then complain because the practice, you didn't show up to learning how to play lat, and now you're upset that you don't know how to how to run lat. It's important to know everything in the game. It's a team-based game. If you don't know what that lat needs, then you're useless. Really,
100%.
right? Like, if he needs you to cover him while he pushes up and takes out a vehicle, that could change the whole flow of the game, right? That could literally change the outcome of a game in some cases. And if you're not there to help him, then you're really hindering the team. So it's important to know kind of what everyone's doing. So I would say like the practices that are just for SLs or just for vehicle guys, like it's actually for everyone. Like really, it is.
Well, and I think something like two things with this. One thing, this is something I noticed right away coming in, is that this team is very much built on fairness. It's very hard fairness, but it's very much fair. Murder doesn't care how many hours you have or how long you've been on this team. Are you a good player and are you willing to learn? And that's what happened is you ended up getting a lot of players who developed an ego. And on this team, there is no room for ego, and I think everybody here can attest to that. Like, your ego will get crushed because you're going to get outworked by somebody who's actually willing to learn. And for people that would like to trash talk Murder and Jhett, like the leadership. I'm proof that it works, right? I literally came in and I did what Jhett and Murder, I did what these guys told me to, and now I'm here. Like I don't know what else you want, right? It's just that's the proof,
Yeah, and it's just a lot of the guys have put in a lot of time and work into the team, and it's showing. Especially now, it's starting to show because since we had a bunch of people leave, we've spent a couple months rebuilding the team, not doing any tournaments or scrims or anything, and just a few weeks ago we returned to doing scrims, and we've done 2 so far and won them both.
Yeah, we came back swinging, man. That's for sure.
this past scrim that we did, it was a tooth and nail fight. I won't say who it was against. Doesn't really matter, but it was a hard fought win, and we've beat them before and lost to them before, so it felt good, but it was definitely a hard fought win, tooth and nail all the way. We only ended up winning by 2 tickets.
Well, we absolutely got stomped by them last time we played them, like destroyed by 200 tickets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think the biggest improvement for the team overall was getting rid of all of the a lot of the trash.
Trimming the fat. Trimming the fat.
Yep.
It's something I've always complained about, and it was the thing is right is when you think that you're good, you hit a ceiling, right? And you'll never get past that ceiling until you take a step back, practice some humility, and go, okay, what could I do better, right? But you stop getting better at the game, and everybody like they would hit the ceiling, right, and they would stop listening to me, right, stop taking my advice, and and they go and do something else, I guess, or whatever, right, or argue with me. And with me, I don't give a fuck. It's that simple. Like, okay, cool, we'll just get rolled to main. I don't really give a shit. How many times are we gonna get rolled to main until you guys fucking understand what we're doing wrong? And it got to the point where, all right, whatever, bye. I'll just reform the whole foundation of the team. And right now we have our core players, and with those core players, right, they're dedicated, they're loyal, and they practice teamwork, right. And like the thing is, fragging is important, right, but teamwork is the most important thing overall. And getting that teamwork down is going to take, takes time. It takes a while to get that cohesion down. Are we going to be good, like like Mumbles or Doc or anything like that? Maybe one day, right, with enough time. If we keep the players around, sure, it's not impossible, right? It just takes time. And the issue is with people, right? They lack the patience to that. They lack the willing to put the practice in and the discipline that comes with it. And they want this instant gratification of being the best. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You don't you don't get into the NBA, right, and become the best basketball player to ever play, right? It takes decades to get that down top. You know what I mean? And it's the same kind of concept. People want that instant gratification, right? And it doesn't work like that. And so now it's just, if you're going to argue, if you're not going to help your teammates, if you're not going to participate in this team or whatever, right? Bye. I'll just find somebody else. It's really that simple. And I got 5 people. Like people don't think that, but I'm fucking watching you like a hawk. And I'm watching what you do and what you say. And the thing is with me is I don't listen to what you say. I watch what you do, right? And when I see people practicing, right, and their spare time and they're playing the game and and they're taking it seriously, right? Those are good players. You know what I mean? But when I see people playing other games, right, and say they're oh yeah, I'll be at the practice, right, and they go invisible or whatever, they try to bail. I don't have time for that anymore. Like I think it's been like a year and a half now, almost 2 years with this team, and my patience for that is gone. Whatever. I don't really give a fuck if you're the best fragger on the planet. If you're not going to dedicate to this team, right? You're not going to participate or whatever. You can go, because I'm tired of wasting my breath with people like that. And everybody that is on the team now understands that that's very clairvoyant. That I will just fucking kick you. And the best part is that they had the head clan directors, right? I have Killer on BIOS's and Jimmy's approval, right? That this is my team. There's no one above me, right? And my favorite part is I could delete Pun's roles right now, right? And there's nothing you can do about it.
Nothing I can do.
I don't owe you an explanation. I'm not going to write you a formal anything like that. No, you're just off the team, right? Bye. And it's really that simple, right? If you don't dedicate and you don't put the time in, right? Why should I put time into you? It's really that simple. There's got to be some give. There's got to be some take.
Should clarify though that you're not just going to do that willy-nilly just because somebody pissed you off one day by saying something if they're still dedicated to the team.
I'm not that kind of power hungry. I'm not some tyrant. Everybody thinks I'm a tyrant in this competitive team, and I'm not. I'm very reasonable. But the thing is, is I have a 3-strike policy, right? and you got to fuck up majorly to hit that third strike. You know what I mean? You really do. And don't show up to practice right. You aren't participating, and you're doing whatever you want. And bye, right? Maybe I might be nice and tell you why you're leaving, right? But most of the time, I won't say anything.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I will catch you before murder even does. So.
Yep. So, yeah, that's a bit of an overview of the comp team, our mindset, and a bit of how we function. So I have one last thing I wanted to talk to Jhett specifically about, and that is the mod that he has been putting hours and hours and hours into.
Hours.
Days, weeks,
Days,
months.
Yeah, it's been a grind for sure.
So I don't know how much you're comfortable sharing about it right now, so just can you just give like a brief overview of whatever you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, we can be pretty open because this podcast, I believe, is coming out after we're running our first event on the mod this week, which is really exciting. It's basically this mod was made for the Fiorentina events team, so that they can run events that are a little bit easier to set up, right? The mod started as a fast rope mod, and it it essentially started as just adding ropes that you could slide down and deploy and all that, and then it just kind of like things just kind of blended into the next thing. Like it was a really organic development. That's the only way I can explain it. It was like, well, we have fast ropes, let's just add in a new faction, because like there was a bug where I was trying to get the animation to work. So I was like, well, I'll just make a new faction and like replace it later. And I just ended up keeping the faction. I'm like, well, we have a new faction, let's have new guns. Oh, we have new guns, let's add in like different variants of the faction, like desert, woodland, night op. And well, now we got night op camo, so now we need NVGs. We got NVGs, so now we need IR lasers. Well, now we have IR lasers and NVGs, so now the insurgents need to be customized with flashlights. And we got all this, and fast ropes. So let's add in more helicopters. So then we added in little bird, CAS variants, transport variants, fast rope variants. We added in an Apache.
No,
it's
hold up, Jhett. You say we.
we.
I don't want you
Yeah,
discounting
well,
yourself. You basically you
I
have done
I
at
like to
least
say we.
95% of the work.
I like to say we because a lot of it is like just discussion from Fiorentina members, right? Like there's a lot of former military guys. There's a lot of people that help me with it. Like I would still be texturing the 1911 if I didn't have those guys, because I was like, is this rubber? No, it's metal.
No,
Is
no,
this
I get
rubber?
it.
No, it's metal. So you
I'm
just
not
have
saying
to grind through everything, right?
Yeah, I'm not
But
saying that you've done all of it, but you have done the vast majority, and I don't want you to discount that from yourself.
yeah, I mean it's been probably months in development now.
Yeah.
And that's like every day. Like I'm a hard worker, so it's been every day consistent development. But yeah,
Every
is there
day
any
and
like
night.
features you wanted me to go over, or and I guess that we could go over this stuff about the event, right?
Yeah, you can talk a bit about the event.
All right, so the event, the mod was originally made for a Black Hawk Down event, which we're kind of trying to build up to that through smaller events. So the event this week is going to be really interesting. It's going to be basically a night assault. So it's kind of like a custom game mode, like Invasion, but with 2 cap points, and they're both in the same compound. So you essentially have to siege the compound and take over the bunker. So it's going to be really neat because there's a weird balance to it where the Rangers, which is the custom faction, have the NVGs and IR, so they can see really well at nighttime. And this is a night map. And then you're going up against the insurgents, which have flashlights and road flares, which if you shine them in their eyes, you go absolutely blind. So it's kind of this really weird balance, right? So you'll see some really unique engagements. I'm really excited for this event. I think it's gonna be the most unique squad gameplay I will ever see. I'll say that with confidence.
Yeah. No, I've helped test a few of the features of it, and from what I've tested, it's really fun and definitely unique. Did you when you were adding the helicopters, because I know you added a couple different variants of the helicopters. Did you end up adding like new flight models, or just changing the existing flight model, or how did you end up getting the different helicopters to have their own unique feels to them?
So there's a lot of OWI has a lot of like really nice settings in there that you can kind of tweak and start to adjust things. The flight model itself is kind of a little odd in a few ways because it kind of has like a predictive network movement, so that if I pitch right, then the server's going to assume I'm going to go to the right, or roll right. Sorry. So there's a few things that are wonky there. I've kind of done a little bit of tweaking to make things feel a little bit more responsive, like especially in the little birds. They're kind of meant to be agile, quick little birds that you can whip around with. If you notice in the base game, the helicopters are very groggy, right? They're very slow, steady adjustments. The little bird is the opposite of that. It's really responsive, and you can pull off some pretty crazy maneuvers in it. So there's definitely been a lot of adjustments. They will not fly the same as the helicopters in the game right now. I'll tell you that first and foremost. The little bird, way more agile, way faster, and the Apache is the only way I can explain it. It's like a flying BMP, which is pretty awesome. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing we added in custom Hellfire missiles and stuff like that. So
And
there's some crazy
miniguns.
stuff in there. Miniguns, that's correct. Yeah, so we have 7.62 miniguns on the Blackhawks as well as on the Little Bird, and then there's a GAU 50 cal minigun and Hydra rockets, which are very terrifying from the ground. There's no other way to explain it.
Going, dude.
Yeah, I know. There's more I haven't even said.
So,
there's a
yeah,
phase
there's-
where I was working on jets and stuff like that, which is getting delayed. So there's a whole mess of things that I'm working on.
So last question. What was the hardest, or so far, what has been the hardest aspect of it? Like, if you had to pick one single thing that was the hardest thing to figure out, what was it?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Well, to make sure my shit always works.
Yeah, that's one of them. I would say the hardest thing for me personally, I wouldn't say this would be the same for anyone working with the SDK, but for me, the hardest thing is working with like other developers' code. So if I'm going into the SDK, it's built by OWI, and all of their code is in there of how they do things. I have a completely different workflow, and when my workflow is kind of being merged with someone else's, it really is hard for me to like reorient myself in their workflow. I really would rather recreate what they have in my own workflow than kind of use a hybrid of the two. So that's been the hardest thing, is like figuring out what code does what and why, and then kind of adapting it to work for my own things, because it's been a really odd trade-off of what do I use OWI, what do I just remake myself, right?
Well, that was my last question. Does anybody have any closing remarks that they'd like to throw in? Anything they missed earlier?
Just there is, we still have room on the comp team, but we're looking for people who are dedicated and willing to learn. And so if you do hear this and you're thinking about joining the comp team, you're more than welcome to try out. But we really are looking for dedicated players who want to put the time in. And the comp team is getting better, and it's going to continue to get better if we keep putting this kind of work in. My little spiel.
Yep.
Come and find out if you're good or not.
Yep, pretty much. Anybody else?
Secret servers.
All right. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching or listening to episode 9 of the Fear and Terror podcast, and I'd also like to thank all of our guests: Chicken, Epic Sax Guy, Jhett, Muderfist69, and UAV Guy. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
See ya.
Bye.
I'm And I'm gonna keep recording for a little bit, just that Gordo has some extra time. So if you want to say anything to Gordo, now's your chance.
Thank you for
Hi, Gordo.
editing this, Gordo.
Yeah.
I thought Sax would edit this, but I guess Sax got off.
I'll let you play with Jhett's titties later, Gordo.